started this podcast one time, but if you have the gumption just to walk up with a few hundred people and just say, you know what, cut a promo for my podcast, I will assume that you have good moxie. I will assume that the Next Step Fantasy Football Podcast is a good one. I haven't heard a minute of it, but I'm assuming it's great.
Check us out.
I can't wait to listen to it.
Check us out.
Cheers, man. Good luck out there.
Check us out.
Welcome to the next.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Next Step Fantasy Football Podcast. I hope we are doing well. We're all sorts of messed up visually here because my name is Jake and I am once again joined by my friend. Oh, wait, Jordan's not here, is he? I'm going to fix this on the YouTube side. But I am joined by the... Oh, wait, the coach isn't here either. In fact, we're joined by our resident Bucks fan today. Don, how you doing?
Hey, good to see you. Glad to be back. Thanks for having me join in.
Sure, man. Thanks for doing this with me. So, no Jordan today. Busy man. He's got something going on. I don't remember. Something important. And then we also... It's football season. So, the coach, Adam... it's going to be hard to get a hold of him. It's fine, though. His internet barely worked anyways. So, Don, I appreciate you being here.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Awesome.
Talking about my favorite conference in the NFL.
Yeah, that's right. So we are on to the NFC North. I apologize for us being gone for a few weeks. It just didn't work out. The holidays, Don, how was your 4th of July?
It was great. I worked a little bit, but I got some time to meet up with some friends and go watch a neighborhood fireworks show. So, yeah, enjoyed it. Went whitewater rafting yesterday.
Oh, sweet.
Went and visited aunts and uncles up in North Carolina. Did some hiking in the Smoky Mountains. So, yeah, it's been a great week.
Great. Are you in or out on fireworks? Like, if you had to pick.
I'm in. I love watching the shows. Funny enough, my stepdad and I, we used to have like the neighborhood fireworks show. Every year was a 4th of July party, pool party, all of my friends, all of my sister's friends, like everybody, adults coming over. And, I think my stepdad even came real close to Jason Pierre palling himself one year. Firecracker got a little too close to the hand, but man, it was a great time. Our fireworks were top notch in the neighborhood. People would avoid the major show just to watch ours in the backyard. It was great.
We went to the fireworks with the kids, and they said that they would start at dusk, and they did not start at dusk, and it was like 11 by the time it started, so it was a nightmare.
Oh, wow. That's late.
Yeah, it's no good. Don, before we get into the NFC South, hold on, let me turn you down. You're very loud, but that's not your fault. No, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's definitely mine. We got some breaking news. Our resident other Bucks fan, Joey, just tweeted out that Monty Kiffin has passed away. You familiar with the coach? He was on the Bucks. Joey wrote, longtime Buccaneers coach, father of the Tampa 2 defense, and mastermind behind the legendary Bucks defense of the early 2000s.
Yeah.
What do you think? I'm not too familiar with Monty Kiffin. I know the name, right?
Yeah,
but
that's sad news. I mean, he's I believe he's in the Ring of Honor, or if he's not, he should be. But yeah, he's a legend at Tampa Bay. So, all your hardcore Tampa Bay fans, that's going to hit hard with us today. Yeah,
that's a bummer. That's not.
I missed that news. I didn't get that alert.
I don't know. He put it out 6 minutes ago. So.
Oh.
Yeah, it's but not to be too somber. But we're going to move on. It's the NFC South, so we're almost done with these division breakdowns. Then we'll get to the fun stuff. Don, I don't suppose... Well, I guess technically Adam's the one with the news usually. Do you have any news off the top of your head?
I don't.
How's that Receiver show on Netflix?
So that's pretty good. I mean, a lot of... I've started watching that, I think about 4 episodes through, and I just got to learn about Monty Kiffin. It's good. I mean, it's a lot like what you would expect from the quarterback show. They're really playing hard right now on Devontae Adams and like displeasure of being a Raider, and they're really playing on that. But it's fun. It's fun to kind of see the off the field cameras on these players and kind of see what goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Did you watch the quarterback one?
I did. I liked it.
I actually didn't watch any of them, which is. But all right, let's get into this. So for anyone who is unfamiliar, what we do is we're going to break down every fantasy relevant player in the NFC South. So we've done the past ones. You can go back on here on the YouTube channel and check it out. They're still relevant. I don't know if the AFC East from a month and a half ago is those ADPs have probably changed, but you see that the Saints and Browns injuries he had. I did not see anything, John, and that is I am talking to John in the chat live on YouTube right now. If you want to interact with us. So the way this is going to work is, Don, you are the NFC South stan here. You're the guy. Which team of all of them? We'll save the Bucks. We'll save the Bucks because obviously you love the Bucks. But of the Saints, the Panthers, and the Falcons, who do you hate the least?
Who do I hate the least?
The least.
The least. How about this? How about we go in the order that I feel the NFC South is going to finish in.
Okay. All right. Let's start at the bottom.
All right. The bottom is going to be. Are you ready for this? It might be a shocker. The New Orleans Saints.
The New Orleans Saints. We're going to throw them up there. All right. So we got the Saints. I have lost my thing with all the stats on it, but we're going to start with Derek Carr. Current ADP, or just talk to me about Derek Carr for a second while I find this again.
Derek Carr is like the 1985 Yugo, right? It's like the car nobody wants, right? It's like it'll get you from A to B, but I don't want to get inside the Yugo, right? It's like if I go to a Toyota used car lot and I'm looking for a Toyota Highlander, and the guy's like, "Hey, you know what? Come with me. I got a car I want to show you. Here's a mint green, sedan with a plastic honeycomb grill. It's ugly as hell. It's crappy, but it'll save you a lot of money. I don't want to buy it. I just don't want any piece of that.
Okay.
I don't know.
It's not what you want. Currently, he finished as quarterback 16 last year, being drafted as quarterback 25. So a guy who will get you, a guy who's not very wanted right now, and I think that's fair, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm not going to draft him in any league. I mean, if I get in a pinch and one of my quarterbacks is injured and I don't know, I lose one or two quarterbacks and I really am in a pinch and he's sitting there on the wires, maybe I'll look at him then, but I don't want any piece of him this year.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I just keep losing this thing that I sent you. So a little behind the scenes thing, Jordan very nicely will type up a whole thing with ADPs and all this stuff, right? And I just keep losing it. So my point is that he is currently a quarterback, low-end quarterback 2. I don't really want him very much. The receiving core is not very good other than the one guy we'll talk about. And yeah, it's you.
Yeah,
it's just you.
I mean, he's just you have to get a 30 touchdown season from Derek Carr to really have any real fantasy relevance out of him. He doesn't have a lot of big games. He doesn't have any rushing ability, so you're not going to gain rushing touchdowns from him. I mean, unless he's throwing for 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, there's just no point.
Agreed. Could you do worse in a pinch? Yes.
Yeah.
But
I don't want to be in that pinch.
I don't want to be in that pinch. And for anyone at home, I have figured it out. So we're good now.
Awesome.
Let's move on to running back. We got Alvin Kamara, finishes running back 24. He only played in 13 games. Going in the 7th round, running back 17. For me, I think this offers some pretty good value. This really is showing like the people right now are fading Alvin Kamara, which is strange.
Yeah.
Especially in a half-point PPR, 75 receptions is crazy. Like that's up there with CMC.
Right, for sure.
So, yeah, I love that. I think we're getting currently being drafted as a mid to low end running back 2, who you could get running back 1 numbers, especially in those in those PPR leagues. 75
and he's going to play the whole
receptions.
season too.
Yeah, and 75 receptions and only 1 receiving touchdown seems off. Right?
It really does.
You would assume
really
that you
does.
get more than that.
I think so, and I think what last year he missed games because of a suspension or something.
Yep. Right, he missed the first 2 weeks or something.
Right, something like that. So, and I just think the Saints were just in a bad spot last year. Like they couldn't really get anything going offensively. But this year, the Saints had every opportunity to dramatically help their salary cap by parting ways with Kamara, but they decided to keep him, which I kind of think they're going to use that as part of a focal point for their offense. So, I think it's going to be the Olave and Kamara show. And so I expect to see some good things from Kamara. I like him at 17. In the 7th round, I would draft him there.
This is great. This is a great ADP.
Yeah.
Like, please, for the love of God, take him here.
Mm-hmm.
Feel really good about it, and let's move on.
Right.
Like
Exactly.
that's really, this is great. Take him here. I love this. It's actually from pretty good value. I'm sure that we will talk about in a future episode. We're going to talk about like, who are we getting? Who are we fading? Who are we? And if he's still going in the second to last pick in the 7th round or 6th round, he's going to be all over my list. So, let's skip ahead to the flex, which is Kendre Miller, who's this backup. They thought he was going to do a little bit more. He's going in the 14th round. I mean, I'm pretty whatever on that. It's interesting though. He finishes running back 71, but he's being drafted as running back 43. So people are assuming there's going to be a uptick there, but I don't see it. Maybe in deeper leagues, but
right. I just don't see enough from him yet. I'm not sold enough on him yet to want to really. Yeah, I mean, if I draft Kamara, I might, get Miller. If I have a bench space or something, just to have that, the handcuff. But I'm not gonna. He's not gonna be a big focal point in my drafting this year.
All right. Easy peasy. This is one downside about the NFC South, where I feel like we just got some duds. Just some duds.
Right.
Yeah, right. Taysom
Every
Hill.
one of the teams have them.
Taysom Hill. He played 16 games. He got a passing touchdown, 4 rushing touchdowns, 2 receiving touchdowns. Finishes tight end 7 because of all of that. Being drafted as tight end 18. Listen, someone's going to take him because he offers all that other stuff. It's just not going to be me. Like, I'd rather have Njoku. I guess if you decide to super wait, and you're like, man, I'm not taking anyone in that Njoku, Dallas Goedert area. I'm not taking Travis Kelce, right? And you're just like, I'm going to wait till the very end, then sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Like, I'd rather have him than Jatavion Sanders, who we're going to talk about for the Panthers here in a minute. So, like,
the funny part is, I looked up the today. I looked up the Saints depth chart. And they don't even have Taysom Hill listed on their depth chart for tight ends.
They got Jawan Jennings,
Juwan Johnson, Forster, Moreau, and Jimmy Graham.
Yeah. So
I mean,
I don't want any of them. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's such a gamble for Taysom Hill. I mean, unless he's doing quarterback, he's really just not.
I will say, without knowing for sure, depending on what format you're using, if he's available as a quarterback / tight end, that could be useful, barring injuries, you never know, right? But if I know a few years ago Taysom Hill was all of a sudden the starting quarterback, and if you could throw that in your tight end spot, that's fantastic. So.
Right.
Just, it's just something to keep an eye out, whatever you're playing on. I'm not sure if they're different, if it's Yahoo, Sleeper, ESPN, whatever it may be. But, if you can put them there, then you should consider doing it.
Right.
All right, why don't you talk about Chris Olave? Finishes wide receiver 24, being drafted as wide receiver 11, 2nd round, 7th pick. How do you feel about it?
I like him. I like him. Fantasy point wise last year, he went way up in the last half of the season. So went way up from weeks 9 to 18 last year. I think he could be better this year in his 2nd year with Derek Carr, but it's Derek Carr. I'm like, any other quarterback, I think Olave is awesome. But the Derek Carr part of that game scares me there.
Kind of a bummer. Like he's really good.
I know. He is good. He's a lot like Drake London with Ritter last year.
Yeah.
Really good wide receiver, horrible quarterback situation. And that reminds me a lot of Chris Olave. Like, man, I like him and I want him, but God, I just don't like Derek Carr being his quarterback. I would draft him. He's not going to be like, he might be so in a 3 wide receiver league, I might look at him as like my wide receiver 3.
Do you feel comfortable
I just
going?
think he's better word.
So basically, right now he's going 2-7-ish. So he's going back half of the second round. Do you feel good about going? In this case, you're picking 1-4, let's say. So you're taking one of those receivers. Do you want to take him again, or like, would you take Olave in the second round and go receiver? Like, do you feel good about him being your wide receiver 2 on your team? Like, if you're drafting a bunch of times, are you going to have him more as your wide receiver 2 or your wide receiver 1?
Wide receiver 2.
Okay.
If I'm drafting, I think he has the potential to have wide receiver, top 10 numbers. I mean, he led. I have a note here too. He led the red zone targets with 11 last year behind Michael Thomas, who had 9. So I mean, and Michael Thomas is gone. So I mean, it's Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed. Chris Olave is by far the best player on the team. So I mean, I'd be comfortable drafting him, in that spot, like the wide receiver 2. But I'm not gonna go receiver 1 on him.
Would you rather have Devontae Adams or Drake London or Chris Olave? Rank those 3.
I'm gonna go Drake London, Chris Olave, Devontae Adams,
and that's really right. That's just matching the quarterbacks, right?
Yeah,
that's probably how you rank those quarterbacks. You go Kirk, Derek Carr, and then whoever's throwing to Devontae Adams. I agree.
Exactly.
Rashid Shaheed just falls into those receivers that we talked about last time. Your Jahan Dotsons, your late round flyers.
Yep.
I will say Shaheed offers some pretty nice deep passes, deep balls.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if he had 700 yards and 5 touchdowns last year without knowing anything.
He's just very sporadic, though. He's going to have like one huge game and then like 3 or 4 nothing games. Then one huge game and then it's just so sporadic.
Joey in the chat says, if you tell me I could get Jamar Chase in the first, Chris Olave in the second, and Sam Laporta in the third, sign me up.
I like that.
It sounds good. It does. I'm probably not going to do it very much because we've talked about on this podcast how we're just not early tight end takers. But that's just, everybody has their own philosophy, and that's kind of the fun of it, right? And for us, I wish between Adam, Jordan, and I assume you, I wish we had some sort of variance there, but we just don't. We just agree on that. Right. So I get it. I'd rather have McBride 3 rounds later. But I mean, I have no problem with those things. Joey says hero running back or zero running back is his strategy this year, which does offer some interesting options. Because why don't we talk about who I'm going to guess who's finishing second is the Carolina Panthers? Finishing third. Sorry.
I got Panthers are going to finish third. I got the Panthers third. I think the Panthers are going to be exciting this year. I mean, like they're not going to be, they're not going to win, 8, 9, 10 games or anything, but I can see 5, 6 games from last year they won 2 games, I think, right? 1 or 2.
Something like that. I think they might have hit 3.
Might have 3. But I think, they got a whole new, like they cleared the front office out, all new coaches. In fact, their new head coach was Buccaneers offensive coordinator last year, Dave Canales. So I think he's going to be a good fit for Bryce Young. I think he's going to be a good fit for Carolina's goals on offense, and I think they're going to be a surprise team. They're not going to win the division or come close to it, but
sorry, I'm not.
I think they'll be fun to watch.
I'm not trying to cut you off. My wife just texted me, and she goes, and John just saw it in the chat too, live on YouTube right now, youtube.com/Next Step Fantasy Football Podcast. Dang, the graphics department, because I was sitting there and I had the wrong picture, and I just kept clicking the wrong one. I hit the Commanders twice, the Cowboys, and then the Falcons, and we're finally there. And she just texted me and said, "You need more banter." Caitlin, my beautiful bride. We're only on team 1. Let's just say that. Bryce Young finished as quarterback 23 last year. Played in all 16 games, which is good to see. Does he take a leap this year? I think that's the question. You know, you add another receiver, you add a new running back. Yes or no?
Well, yeah.
He will finish. He's being drafted as quarterback 26, so he's actually being drafted after Derek Carr.
Sure.
I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Do you think he outproduces quarterback 23?
Yes.
Okay. You're very wrong, but sure, tell the people why.
I mean, I think there's just been a lot of improvements there. They got, they're going to have a nice running back coming in. So I guess Jonathan Brooks is going to be interesting to see how he plays out. But he's a top running back right now. I like him. Deontay Johnson, I think, is finally going to be on a team that he needs to be on. Who else we got? Adam Thielen. I mean, Adam Thielen, I still like him. I've always been a Thielen fan. I'm interested to see what Xavier Legette.
Yeah,
I'm interested to see what he can do. I think he's going to be all right with them. But, I mean, I think he can finish. So I'm not going to say he's going to finish like top 15, but I think he's going to finish better than QB 23.
Okay.
He's got a much better offensive coordinator. They got Dave Canales likes to run the ball, but he also likes to throw, get the ball going. I think they're going to be fine this year. I think he's going to do better than QB 23. I'm excited to watch it.
I don't think he's going to do very well. I mean, in fantasy, I don't think we're drafting him regardless. But I just really don't see it though. So Timothy Henderson in the chat, who is a new face, good to have you here. He asks, will he have enough time to throw the ball? And that's where I think they're going to struggle, right? They're slowly trying to revamp this offense. They got the quarterback. They gave him a few more weapons. I think we're a year away from, next draft, I'm expecting the offensive lineman, right? So I just don't see it. Yeah. He's not a guy we're taking. I'm in fantasy. I don't want him as my backup. If you're asking me, would I rather have Derek Carr or Bryce Young, I want Derek Carr for a week starting.
Okay.
Okay. Talking about these running...
What? I think too. I know the Panthers spent some free agency money and vamped up their O line a little bit, so to give him a little bit more protection. So I guess that's going to play a big role. Last year everybody could break through that line,
and he's just so tiny.
Right. I think it's going to be fun. I got him doing better than QB 23 this year, though.
So running backs, we have Jonathan Brooks and Chuba Hubbard. So Brooks is going in the 9th round. I hate that. And Chuba going in the 16th, I love, because I think Chuba starts.
Right.
He's going to start, and then they'll slowly work. If you can get Brooks later on, he could probably help. I think he's the better running back. I think he could help you later on in the season. But to start, I'm not taking a guy in the 9th round who's not going to play much for the first 2 months of the year.
Yeah, I like Jonathan Brooks, but I think his current ADP is a little high as well.
Chuba nearly had 1,000 yards last year, and that was playing behind the bane of my existence, Miles Sanders. So, who needs to be cut? But that's a different thing. So I think we agree. I like the Hubbard. He has sneaky wide receiver 2 upside that you're getting in the 16th round. So I like that there. I don't like Brooks where he's going. But I will say, I think if you take him, be prepared to sit with him for a very long time. But once it hits, I'm talking fantasy playoffs times, it might actually pay off.
What do you think about the current ADP of 9th round? Is that for dynasty leagues? How do you feel about Jonathan Brooks 9th round dynasty?
Well, I don't think he's going 9th round dynasty.
Yeah.
To be honest, so I don't know what his dynasty is. I mean, these are all just redraft stats here, so I couldn't tell you. I mean, in startups, he's probably going later, maybe right around there. In rookies, he's probably going in the 1st round because he's the first running back being taken. I will say, receivers offer some pretty good value here. So Deontay Johnson in the 8th round should be wide receiver 1. I dig that. I'm okay with that.
Yep.
I'm okay with that.
I like that too.
I think he should really soak up some catches. Adam Thielen had 103 receptions, 1,000 yards, and he's being drafted in the 16th round. I get that man is a corpse. He is old.
Yeah.
But he's producing, and I understand that it was the first 6 weeks he was just nuts. And then kind of trailed off.
He went off.
But give me every Adam Thielen share I can own. That is fantastic.
I mean, yeah, Adam Thielen, the first, he was averaging 16 plus points per game in the first 8 weeks, or 7 weeks was, weeks 1 through 8.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was wide receiver 7 then. I mean, it's pretty good, but then he did trail off a lot.
But I really like that. I like that value. That's fantastic.
I do too. too. So what was that, 16th round? I'd draft him there.
Oh, gosh. I'd rather have him. Of all these random 16-round receivers that we've talked about, I want him the most.
Yeah.
Joey in the chat says, hot take, Jonathan Mingo will be the wide receiver on this team. He is the Mike Evans role in their offense. That is a hot take. I don't see it happening. I see him being fourth on this team in fantasy points, receptions, all that stuff. Because I still think Xavier Leggett will have some sort of role. He's not on here, but it's certainly possible that he jumps Adam Thielen. I think that's definitely a possibility.
I think the Panthers traded up to get him.
Yeah, he's first round.
With the last pick of the first round. So I think that their plan is to do something with him.
John asks in the chat, Don, who beat you in the league last year?
I will give John his spotlight. John, you beat me and you got lucky. Let's see again this year, buddy.
We've been hosting a lot of, so we have some leagues that we'll talk about here on the podcast coming up, and then we've been doing a bunch of best balls. I think this is the third one that we're going to be drafting here in an hour. So if you're interested in that, make sure you find us on our Facebook page at the Next Step Fantasy Football Podcast, and we're just doing those for fun, and it's a good time. And then at tight end, they have Jatavion Sanders, rookie. You're not taking him. Don't worry about it.
No.
And I hope he makes me eat my words. So, all right, who is finishing third?
That is going to be the team that all of America thinks is going to be the hands-down winner of the NFC South.
My gosh.
Poorly mistaken. It's going to be close. I will give it to them. It's going to be close, but it's going to be the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay,
They're finishing second in the NFC South.
The graphics department already put up the Bucks because we figured that's what it was going to be. But sure, why not? Let's go ahead and move on to the Atlanta Falcons. Kirk Cousins comes from Minnesota. Got hurt last year. Still, what's crazy is he played 8 games and finished as quarterback 24.
Right.
So he was better than, or he was the same as Bryce Young, and Bryce Young played in 16 games.
Yeah. Cousins going to the Falcons was a huge upgrade. They paid a ton of money for him. He threw for 3,775 yards. If he can stay healthy all the way through, I think he can crush that in 2024. The Falcons have done really good in building getting some good offensive weapons. I really like everybody they've got. They've got a good team.
Yeah.
The problem is this, and get ready to book it, right? The problem is this. They need some help on their O-line. They don't have a lot of protection in there.
Okay.
And they went ahead and with the 8th overall pick, they could have gotten so many people to help that out. But instead, after spending $180 million on Cousins, they drafted a quarterback to not help any protection there. They're going to face 4 of the top 10 defenses in the first 5 games. Cousins is coming off of a late Achilles injury. Cousins will not be starting for the Falcons by the end of week 5.
By week 5?
He's going to get thrown to the ground so often and so hard by these defenses he's going to face in the first 5 games there. He's going to get injured. I hope he doesn't. I truly hope he doesn't.
It sounds like you're hoping he does.
He will not. Now, I'm not saying he's going to get injured for the season, but he's not going to be starting week 6.
So your book it is that he won't play week 6.
You can book it that, book it. Kirk Cousins is injured by the end of week 5.
All right. We can't predict injuries, Don. All right.
Oh, well.
I'll say this. If he's healthy and he's being drafted in the 13th round right now as quarterback 18. This is that spot we've talked about quarterbacks. We've always talked about the Kirk Cousins rounds, right? This is where we're talking about Tua and these guys. I like Kirk Cousins. I do. If he can stay healthy, he's got the weapons. I really like him. So
Yeah,
at this
I do
ADP, I
him,
like
too.
him, but he does have that possibility of an injury because he's older and coming off it. Same as Aaron Rodgers, right? Older, coming off an injury, so it is definitely higher than previous, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, moving on, let's talk about the tight end. We got Kyle Pitts, finishes tight end 12, being drafted as tight end 6 in the 7th round. This is right around that Goddard range, right after McBride. So there's that tier of guys. I don't hate it. I think that, still only 3 touchdowns, 667 yards. I think that could go up with Kirk Cousins, with a competent quarterback now.
I think it does. They got, again, what's his name? Arthur Smith. The guy couldn't even manage a clock, let alone manage a team.
Yeah.
I like the coaching staff. Raheem Morris. I like Raheem Morris. He used to be with the Bucks. He's a great head coach. I think he's great for the Falcons.
Didn't they fire him?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
they did. But and I think it was with the Falcons once before too. But Raheem Morris. I mean, he's a good coach. I do like him. I always kind of have, and I think he's going to utilize these players the way that they're supposed to be. So Kyle Pitts, I think, is just the past few years he's been, again, one of those situations, a great tight end just not being used properly. Yeah. I think this year is going to be, for lack of a better term, his breakout year. I think he's going to finish great here, and I like where his ADP is right now. I'd take that all day long.
Honestly, I think we can kind of save ourselves some time here, and with all these ADPs, we'll go over them here. I think that we can agree that we like them. Drake London. So much. Moving to receivers, Drake London going 2-8, so he's going right after Olave. I love that. I think with Kirk Cousins really changes what this offense looks like, assuming health and everything. But I love Drake London. I think he could outproduce wide receiver 12. I really do. I think we have a top 8 in him. I've always loved Drake London. The size, just the hands. He's a good receiver. I'm excited to see what he looks like with
a good quarterback.
Quarterbacks play. Then they go ahead and get Darnell Mooney, another 16th round receiver we've talked about. I like the upside. Sure, give it a shot. I don't hate it. And then let's talk about the running backs. So Bijan is going 1-7, running back 3. How do you rank those top 3 running backs?
I mean, I would.
You got CMC, Breece Hall.
Yeah. And then Bijan, right?
Yeah. So for me,
I like CMC. So I would go CMC, Jahmyr Gibbs, Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson.
So okay, you like Gibbs 4. That much?
I do like Gibbs.
So you're going to get him a lot then.
I've been trying to.
Yeah, right. I think for me, I got Bijan ahead of Breece. I think especially in PPR, half PPRs. Love that. I think the flex option here we have is Tyler Algier, who ran for nearly 700 yards last year. I love him at his ADP of 17th round because I think that he is one of the best handcuffs in the NFL. Okay?
Yeah.
But I don't think that he's going to get 700 yards again this year. Like, that has to go to Bijan. So
yeah, again, I think that's all part of the product of last year, Arthur Smith not knowing how to use the players he had.
Which is crazy. It was just...
It absolutely is. I mean, there should have been no world where Algier had 700 yards last year. But
yeah. Though he should have had, 250 and 400, and the rest of it should have went to Bijan. I think Bijan has a real shot at being the running back 1 in fantasy this year. So if you're taking him at 1-7, I love the idea of him at 1-7 and then a receiver on your flip around, taking, I don't know.
And he had 8 total touchdowns last year. I mean, I can see, I see it get 12 easy.
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. So love that. Joey says, when Jonnu Smith is getting goal line carries, you knew Arthur Smith was crazy. For anyone not familiar, that was the starting or the backup tight end. So Jonnu Smith has like 6 rushing touchdowns on his career. Something stupid, which makes no sense. So yeah, we're going to agree on that one. And then let's go ahead and wrap up here by talking about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, starting with Baker Mayfield. Okay.
Let's go.
All right. I would love to hear what your thoughts are on Baker.
Baker had a career year last
He
year.
sure did.
Right? He had a career year. Nobody counted the Bucs in. Everybody said they're absolute trash. They're nothing without Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield came in and said, "I found me a home." And he had a whole bag of chips on his shoulder, not just a chip. He had a whole bag of chips on his shoulder. And he made every single person eat from that bag of chips. He shut everybody up and shut everybody down. And I think this year he's going to continue on that role. He's coming in. We pretty much brought back everybody again. We beefed up our O-line. Our defense is still great. Drafting Graham Barton first overall for us at in Detroit, that was the more I look into that,
it's a great pick. I was hoping the Packers would take him.
Oh yeah, that was an absolute great pick. I mean, that's exactly what we needed. So, I mean, he's going to go off again this year. What do you have listed there? He had 28 touchdowns, 4,000 yards. I mean, he's going to throw for 30 touchdowns. He's going to get 4,500 yards. Maybe get lucky and get 5, but he's going 30 touchdowns.
Is he the quarterback of the future for you guys?
I mean, he's the quarterback for the next 3 or 4 years for sure.
You don't think he'll plummet? Be the Baker that we always thought he was? I will say he did get the raw deal in Cleveland, and then not much of a shot in the other ones.
No, he got the raw deal in Cleveland. The Panthers was just an absolute disaster. What they did with him. Going to LA. I mean, he showed some good stuff in LA with the Rams there.
Clearly,
of course,
he got him a starting
Stafford
job.
was the player, right?
Yeah.
And then he comes to Tampa, and I will admit, I'll 100% admit that when I heard the Buccaneers got Baker, I was like, oh man, I don't want Baker.
There goes my Kyle Trask shares.
There goes Kyle Trask. Let's come on, But I started watching his pre-game, press interviews and everything, and one thing that really stuck out to me because I always thought he was just kind of arrogant and I'm here for it's a me mentality. But his interviews started coming in and saying like, "Hey, this is my 4th team in 6 months. I'm really humbled. I finally think I found a place that wants me and that I want to be at." And since then he's been doing great stuff, not just for the team but for Tampa Bay, the community. Him and his wife are super involved. And you can see that there's actual joy and happiness in them. And I think that really does play a big role for players. So, the team loves him. He is, the entire locker room is absolutely sold on him. So I think that's going to play out big. And Baker's going to have a big year again this year.
Over or under quarterback 10? Being drafted as quarterback 22.
Yeah. I can see him right at quarterback 10.
Okay. Then that's not what I asked. Over or under?
Over or under. You know what? I am going to go against my better. I'm going to say under, but it's going to be like quarterback 11 of that.
Okay. Yeah, I think
potential to be top 10 for sure.
I think it's
potential to be top 10.
Yes, I think it offers really good value at quarterback 22, but I think we've seen the best of what we're going to see. I don't see 30 touchdowns. I see he got 28. I think he's right around here again. So I think that it's a fine. I don't want him as my quarterback 1. I don't. If you decide to take Kirk and then back him up with Baker, sure. But I'm not excited about him.
I think this year is going to be his only shot to get 30 touchdowns.
Gotcha. That's because
I think after. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Moving into the receivers, we got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. He hit 1,200 yards. Mike Evans, that is, currently going the last pick in the 4th round. Was wide receiver 4, which seems a bit disrespectful. That he's wide receiver 18 being drafted. Right. You're going to end up with a lot of Mike Evans, aren't you?
I've been trying to do that too.
Yeah.
And it's just like you said, it's disrespectful where he finished and where he's at. And this is for John here.
You're acknowledging him.
Put me on the field. Acknowledge me on the field. So,
Jeez,
yeah.
that's going to take
Love
so
it.
much editing to quiet you down. Oh God. All right.
Sorry
Yeah.
about
So we like that spot there. So if you're getting him there, you're getting a wide receiver 1 in most weeks. So draft him there.
Yep.
Chris Godwin being taken as wide receiver 33. He finished as wide receiver 33 last year. 83 receptions, 1,024 yards, 2 touchdowns. I like this value because I expect him to score more than 2 touchdowns.
Oh, yeah.
So this is
for
some
sure this
pretty
year.
decent value. The tight end, Cade Otton. Again, if you weren't sitting here, I'd say we're not drafting. He's going in the 17th round. You're not taking him.
I'm not drafting him either.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not drafting him either. Again, that's going to be something. If you get in a dire situation and he's sitting there on a waiver wire, you have no tight ends or your tight ends are on bye week and you just need a plug and play, then yeah, take him for a week. But I'm not drafting him either. Don't forget about Mike Evans. You draft him, you're getting 1,000 yards.
That's true. It's the most consistent thing in fantasy. And then go ahead, Rachaad White. So I'll talk about that. He finishes running back 8. He's being drafted as running back 13. I don't buy it. We talked about this last year that it's for me, Monday Night Football, you're watching just whatever game is on, and I'm watching, and it just doesn't look good, is my thought on him. I just don't like it. I don't know if we're hitting another 600 yards receiving. I mean, it's okay in the 5th round. For me, when I'm looking at drafting running backs and I'm in the 5th round and I take him, I'd rather have like Najee, right? Or for me, he's just a step down. He's like one of the lower tier running back 2s in my eyes, which is right now being drafted as a high-end wide receiver or running back 2. So for me, I just don't love it. I think it's just a little high, and that's because I think I see the rookie, Bucky Irving, who's going in the 17th round. I think he's going to have some sort of role there. So,
yeah, for sure. I think Bucky Irving is going to quickly come up as the RB2. Bucky Irving's going to be more of the receiving running back role, right?
Yeah.
Rachaad White just had some kind of crazy breakout year with that last year, but I think it's going to come down to Rachaad White's going to be your rusher, and when you need to get some receiving help in there, running back, Bucky Irving will jump in there. But yeah, he's not going to get the 600 something receiving yards.
That's where I see it going down. And then Zach in the chat says Jalen McMillan is having a good camp. Apparently, could have flex appeal as well. So
now I like him a lot too.
We see 2 running backs who are producing pretty well right now. So if you have so many options, like it's gonna take them down a notch, right? I can compare it to, we talked about how much I love Josh Jacobs this year, but if you listen to other people, other podcasts, or whether it just be videos in general, the consensus right now that I've seen is people aren't as high on Josh Jacobs because they drafted Marshawn Lloyd, who should have a role. So that's kind of what I see here, a guy who's going to have a role, and so, 5th round, I'm just not... Here's what I think. I don't hate the ADP, but if I'm drafting him at 5'2", I'm kind of bummed about it.
Right.
That's what I feel.
I got you there. Yeah. I can agree with that.
So, yeah. So that's kind of how we feel on that. And there you have the NFC South. Next week we have the NFC West, and then we'll be moving on to cover some leagues, and then we're gonna, I'm trying to think. Then we have some love-hate stuff, and then we can get into drafting strategies and that do's or don'ts. That's gonna be fun. And then we are a month and a half away from actual football, and less than a few weeks away from preseason. So it's very exciting stuff.
So gotta ask.
Go ahead.
Since I couldn't do my book on Kirk Cousins being out by the end of week 5, how about we book him Mike Evans for 1,000 yards and Baker Mayfield for 30+ touchdowns?
All right. I'll write it down.
That's an easy one.
Those are easy ones. You're going to come out at 100% probably. So congratulations.
I'll tell you what. Let's do this then. Let's add to it. Baker Mayfield for 30+, Mike Evans for 1,000, Chris Godwin for 750+ yards, and let's just go absolutely nuts. Let's put Rachaad White for 500+ rushing yards.
So you pretty much want them to do exactly what they did last year.
Yeah, why not?
All right, cool.
Let's put it again.
So I appreciate you guys hanging around. Don, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Unless you have anything else you want to say.
Go Packers, go Tigers, and nobody cares about the Irish anymore.
It's true. We don't. All right, you guys take care. Be good.
Let's see.
Listening to the Next Step Fantasy Football Podcast. Follow and subscribe on Facebook and YouTube at the Next Step Fantasy Football Podcast.